And welcome to another edition of the Best Football Show. I'm Brian Baldinger at Baldy NFL across social media. You can find me breaking things down. Broke down Abdul Carter from Penn State earlier today, Austin Eckler from the Commanders. Anyways, we've got a lot of news to get to. You can get this every day. All right, just download a free Odyssey app, wherever you get your apps. Like it and subscribe to it. Grow it. Check in every day. I just been literally in my film room here. Away from NFL films, but I've got one at my house in Florida here, and just been breaking things down literally for 5-6 hours a day. But we have a lot of news to get to today. So let's get to it because the Jets have a new head coach. Aaron Glenn is the new head coach, former defense coordinator of the Detroit Lions for the last few years. But he, you got to look at Aaron Glenn. When he came out of Texas A&M as a corner in 1994, he was drafted by the Jets. And he had a 15-year career. And probably definitely two of his best years were with Bill Parcells as a Jet. In 97, 98, he was all-pro corner, played 15 years, but the majority of the time with the Jets. And then when he finished his career, he did some work in the front office with the Jets. So the Jets know who Aaron Glenn is. In fact, he had other interviews, one I think scheduled for New Orleans, either yesterday or today, and the Jets really didn't want to lose him. They wanted Aaron Glenn. And Aaron Glenn just took a day. Sometimes it's good, okay, you just finished the NFC, divisional playoff game. It's disappointing. The phone's ringing. People are interested in you. Your career, your season in Detroit comes to an abrupt end. You got to take a breath. And I think he just wanted to take a breath after interviewing with the Jets, his second interview, because he interviewed via Zoom. And then he interviewed in person after the loss up there in Florham Park, New York. So he just wanted a day to kind of make sure that look at all the options. This is the plan. They don't have a general manager yet, but that's supposed to be coming soon. So that's congratulations to Aaron. These guys, I give these guys a ton of credit that we only look at the final hire as a head coach, but what you don't see is all the different stops along the way. A lot of these guys, man, they're in a place for a year, they're 2 years. They can't even they've got homes in different cities. They haven't sold. They've got kids in school. It just depends, but it's difficult. It's difficult. But anyways, I know a lot of the people with the Jets front office, the search. Mike Tannenbaum was involved. Phil Savage was involved. Some qualified people. So congratulations to the Jets and to Aaron Glenn. And maybe Aaron can begin to turn this thing around and the Jets can get to the playoffs like they turned it around in Detroit. Because I think when they hired Dan Campbell and he hired Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, I think people thought, okay, who's this former player? Is he really? They turned it around in Detroit. And they're a bona fide team. They've got great talent. They lost 2 playoff games in a row. Last year in the NFC Championship game, this year the divisional playoff round, but they're still a great team. They still have great players, good design, but they're losing good coaches. To lose Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, they're 2 coordinators on back-to-back days. That's tough for a team, but that's Aaron Glenn. Let's get to the Raiders because the Raiders have news. The Raiders hired a new general manager, John Spytek, and John. Look, you can trace some of these guys and where they kind of started, learning the bones of their trade. John was in Philadelphia with Tom Heckert. He went to Tampa. Jason Light was there. He's been with Jason Light. All right, so he's been in 2 Super Bowl winning franchises, Philadelphia and Tampa. He's worked his way up from area scout all the way through. But the thing that's really interesting to me about this hire with the Raiders, and he's qualified. He's a top flight lieutenant in Tampa the last couple of years, and they've won the division 4 years in a row. And he's been right underneath Jason Light all 4 years. They've drafted very well. They've supplanted in free agency very well. But the thing that's interesting to me is he played with Tom Brady at the University of Michigan. Yeah, he's a Michigan man. And so I just feel like Tom Brady is all over this Raiders situation right now. And why wouldn't he be? Honestly, He's got a small percentage of ownership. He's building a relationship with the people there. Yes, he's got an NFC Championship game to call in Philadelphia, and he's got a Super Bowl to call in New Orleans in 3 weeks. But, look, Tom Brady's looking at what John Lynch has done as a former player in San Francisco. Like, he's got his eyes set on getting the Raiders back to playoffs and winning football and competing with Kansas City and everybody else in that division. And I believe that a big part of John Spytek being hired is Tom Brady. Like, they were teammates at Michigan. I'm sure they've stayed in touch. He was there when Tom Brady won a Super Bowl in Tampa 4 years ago. So there's a kismet between those two players and two men right now. Let's go to the Colts. The Colts hired Lou Anarumo. It's interesting. Lou was the former defensive coordinator, the Cincinnati Bengals. 3 years ago, he was one drive away from winning a Super Bowl in Cincinnati. The Rams take that final drive, go down there. We know what happened at the end with Cooper Kupp. But I have a lot of respect for Lou Anarumo. And it's interesting. I'm in Fort Lauderdale right now. Lou has a place in Fort Lauderdale. He just hit me up the other day. Literally, Saturday or Sunday, are you here? Like, I saw him during the season a couple of times. I said, let's get together. We don't have to talk about football. Let's just get together on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. Just got hired by the Colts. And I got to tell you, I have a great deal of respect for Lou. I spent 2 days in Cincinnati this summer at training camp just watching him coach practice, coach his players, develop players. I know Trey Hendrickson, led the league in sacks this year. They played very well down the stretch. They just, but anyways, they made a change. It happens. The Colts made a change, and they've hired Lou. And I texted him. I said, Lou, I played for the Colts many moons ago, but I know the owner. I know a lot of people in the front office. I've stayed friends with a lot of people there. It's a first-class organization. And by the way, on defense, they've got talent, real talent. And he'll love the linebackers, EJ Speed and, the group that they have there. He'll love, the defensive lineman and the rookie, Latu this year. I think he's going to be a really good player. I just think he has a chance of doing really good work. And sometimes change is good. I remember one game this year. Well, I did 3 Bengal games this year. Week 2, I was in Kansas City. They had that game won. On 3rd and 20, a rookie defensive back got a defensive pass interference penalty on, I guess maybe it was 4th and 20. And it gave the Chiefs new light and went out and scored, won the game. I saw him in a shootout against Baltimore week 5. I saw him week 5, literally at one point in that Kansas City game, he was down to 2 healthy defensive tackles, I should say. I mean, everybody got hurt. So I'm not here to make excuses for Lou, but, you're going to win. You look at these teams right now that are still standing. Look how healthy the Eagles are, the Chiefs are. Look how healthy, the Commanders' defense is that Joe Witt Jr. is coaching. Look at how healthy Buffalo is. Health is a big part of anybody's success. So I wish Lou Anarumo success. Now, let's get to some of these other hires. And what we're looking at right now is quarterbacks and coaches and the association and how important that is. All right, we saw it this year firsthand. Sean Payton and a rookie Bo Nix. I mean, a lot of people could have had Bo Nix. Sean Payton, he started 18 games for Sean Payton this year. All we saw that kid do was improve and get to the playoffs. Now, they lost the playoff game. It wasn't very pretty, but they got to the playoffs. And there was a long drought there. But the head coach, play caller, quarterback, that association is so important. It just is. I mean, you win and lose games. Coaches get fired if that association isn't strong, dynamic. You look at what Cliff Kingsbury is doing with Jaden Daniels. To go into Detroit as almost a double-digit underdog and to see Cliff's coaching and what Jaden is doing. Jaden's unique talent. He probably would be successful with a lot of guys. But I was around Cliff Kingsbury a lot at Texas Tech when Patrick Mahomes was there. In fact, I think I did Patrick Mahomes' first start. I was working at Fox at the time. I was doing college football for them. I'd done NFL games at Fox for 12 years. I left doing the NFL games. I went to college. And they needed somebody on these Big 12 packages. It was a big part of their Saturday broadcast. I did Big 12 games. Got to know the coaches in that conference really, really well. And so I was out there in Lubbock, Texas. And, anybody that's around Cliff, he's got a big whiteboard. And you go into his office, and he's always drawing up new plays. So I know, when I was doing a game at Texas Tech when Cliff was there, I literally would come to sit down with him on Friday afternoons after practice, and we would just sit down and shoot the bull and talk football. And we never really got personal about anything. I was just interested in his football mind. And I would learn, he might be on the phone when I walked into his office. So I would just look at the whiteboard, wait till he's finished. So I always would be looking at these plays. And so, I'd see something that maybe I hadn't seen before. And so he'd get off the phone, I go, Cliff, what's the design of this play? Like, what are you trying to do? What are you attacking here in this play? Like, it was very, very intricate and specific. And so you watch that game against Detroit, they put up 38 points offensively. You get the pick six, 45 points in Detroit. And you look at the formations, you look at the motions, you look at the pre-snap reads based on both those things and the things Jaden did. And it's not, honestly, the way Cliff teaches it and the way he gets you to look at it, it's not rocket science. Now, I know that that Jaden loves to wear those goggles, and they review looks and all that new stuff, all that new technology that's going on. Like, I'm sure that helps. But there was a play in the game where they've got double stack formations, receivers outside the numbers. You see that in college a lot. You see that at Tennessee. You saw that with Mahomes at Texas Tech. You see it in college more than you do in the NFL. But what that does is it really declares, okay, who's covering those two receivers. You don't have to go walk all the way outside there, but you have to deploy two guys on each side. So it limits the number of guys in the box. Then you're reading the free safety. And then if, like on one play, you see Brian Branch who's out there, he starts cheating in. And he's got a stack play going. You can run an outside zone to the right, or you could throw a hitch screen to Terry McLaurin on the left. And that's the play where McLaurin catches the hitch and goes 58 yards. And Brian Branch gets caught in a blitz. They're shorthanded outside. McLaurin breaks the tackle and he goes 58 yards. You just go, in the stat column, it's a touchdown, it's a big play. It's not a difficult concept. But that's what you're looking for. So we're looking at these hirings now. You're looking at Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson. Like, I feel like Ben Johnson can do very similar things right now with Caleb, all right, that he has done with Jared Goff since he's been the offense coordinator in Detroit. And it's really, really important to build that relationship because I'm a Caleb Williams fan. Like, I knew Caleb when he was at, when he was in high school. I knew him, he went to Chicago. But, even when he went to Oklahoma and then, to USC, he had Lincoln Riley, he had Cliff Kingsbury. Now he gets Ben Johnson because it was a disaster in Chicago this year. You fire the offensive coordinator. You end up, firing the head coach. You end up firing the elevated quarterback coach, the offensive coordinator, the head coach. You fire him. It's just no stability at all for him. Now he's going to get a guy who's got very good ideas in Ben Johnson. He was heavily coveted the last 2 years. A buddy of mine represents Ben Johnson. He's been telling me about him as soon as he got to Detroit, that this is a bright mind. So you get a bright mind with a bright student and a talented student in Caleb Williams, and let's put this thing together. Let's build the offensive line. Might be not built as big and strong as Detroit's was, but let's get that up front so we get some protection. But if we have issues, Detroit lost certain starters during the year. Let's make sure we're protected first. And then when we're blitzed, when your number one receiver is taken away, what's our answer? What's our answer to the blitz? What's our answer when they take the number one receiver away? Let's get that solidified. So the quarterback has an outlet. No matter what happens, there's a place to go with the ball. And there's so many times this year I watched Caleb just go into a frenzy, just wondering, does he have an outlet? What's the answer to this? Like, there is no answer. And I thought it was poorly coached. And then finally here, Mike Vrabel has rehired Josh McDaniels in New England for the third time. And look, I know it hasn't worked out for Josh as a head coach in Denver or the Raiders. Okay, so not every guy's a head coach. Some guys are great play callers, and great play designers, and can think on their feet game day. And I would say Tom Brady would endorse that hire. I'd say Mike Vrabel got to see it every day in practice. And so I feel like Drake May is going to be in good hands. I'm not saying, because I saw a lot of great things from Drake May this year. I saw a guy that stood tall in the pocket. I saw a big, strong arm like we saw at North Carolina. I saw a guy that looked tough, that was able to extend plays. I saw a good touch on the deep ball. There's a lot of good things I saw. What I didn't see was a great offensive line. I saw, I don't know how many different permutations up front. And if I had to evaluate his offensive line, and I'm out here to throw shade at any one of the guys up front, but it's hard to really look at any of the guys that played this year and think there's more than two starters that played for him. And so, that's where the Patriots are. They've got to start building that wall. And then with Josh, and one thing we saw with Tom for so long with him is the ball gets out quick. And sometimes you just take the check down. Some days you don't throw that dangerous pass over the middle and risk getting an intercept. You take the safe throws. You stay on target. You keep the chains moving. And that was sort of, Brady's philosophy for much of his career. And so he didn't throw the ball a lot outside the numbers. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. He kept the turnovers to a minimum. So I think those are some of the things you'll see Josh instill in Drake May. That's been the Best Football Show today. Thanks for joining me. I'll be back here tomorrow to talk more football. Let's see who else gets hired. Let's break down these games a little bit more. I've got some good notes on Washington, Philadelphia that I want to share with you tomorrow. So thanks for joining me in the Best Football Show, everybody.